Well, I will call the meeting to order now that it's 7 o'clock, and welcome all of you. Thank you all for coming. I do have some guidelines to read in the City of Perry Open Forum Meeting Guidelines for the special meeting of December 7th, 2022. The purpose of this meeting is to open discussion with the public regarding the referendum petition concerning the sale of marijuana within the City of Perry. The meeting will begin at 7. Please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hand, and the mayor, I will invite you to speak and you can come up to the podium. There is a sign-in sheet there for you to indicate who you are. Devin has put that there. Please limit your time so that we have time for everyone who has something to say. We're not putting a strict time limit on, but I would say 5-6 minutes is probably good. Please be respectful. Please provide supporting evidence if you have specific concerns. We would like to see that. The City Council members and I will engage in discussion with you regarding the referendum petition and the sale of marijuana within the City of Perry if you have questions. If you would like to, leave your name and contact information for further discussion with any one of us. Please fill out the form that's provided for that. The open forum meeting will end when each person has had opportunity to speak. Now, our ordinance committee chairperson, Larry Lambert, and Steve Wallace and Mindy Gallavy, who are on that committee. I don't know if you guys had anything you wanted to say to start the meeting off, or if we should just call the public.
I wouldn't mind if my other folks are okay to just kind of level everybody up for a second, because I know there's I believe a lot of confusion out there with regard to exactly what's going on. I want to first say that the City Council has approved a medical/retail marijuana facility for operation within the City of Perry. That has been approved. The conditional license has been granted to the winners. They have up to 12 months to fulfill all of the state requirements as well as the local zoning requirements to begin operation within the city. So that is in place and moving forward. The issue at hand really, as we talk about a referendum petition, is, and I'd like to read the first text that's on that petition, is a challenge that's being put forward that would ultimately halt that activity. And the beginning of the petition that's being circulated reads as follows. We, the undersigned qualified registered electors, residents in the City of Perry, State of Michigan, respectfully petition for a voter referendum on ordinance number 366, which conflicts with the charter amendment adopted by the voters of the City of Perry in November 2021. We request a submission of this ordinance to the electors residing in the City of Perry for the next regular election. And then it goes on with the signature location and has a copy of the actual ordinance. What that really boils down to is if there is about 170, Devin, qualified signatures that are actually received on that petition as it gets circulated, it would basically force the stoppage of any further activity in the approved ordinance until such time as actually it would go on the ballot in an election, which currently is, we're looking at 2024 as the next regularly scheduled election. So in essence, it would halt any activity. The charter amendment that's referenced had been put forward previously, was on the ballot, excuse me, in November of last year, and it did technically pass by a very narrow margin. However, it was deemed by the State of Michigan that was basically an invalid charter amendment because it didn't follow Michigan law. We have had a court case brought before the city That has been dismissed by the 35th Circuit Court in Shiawassee County. And in any case, the same group that's called the Shiawassee Cares Coalition is back out with yet another petition trying to halt our ordinance in favor of their charter amendment that has been dismissed by the court. Anything would you add in here, Steve?
The reason that they're doing this petition is they were not the successful lottery winners for the retail and medical shop in the city. So this will stop who that individual was, and put them off for at least 2 years. They want to be the sole provider in the city of Perry.
They did not apply though.
No, they did not apply. Well, they still were not successful in getting.
But I can't stress enough, there's been a lot of comments that have been made that the city and the city council is not in favor of having a retail facility within the city. That is not at all true. The charter amendment called for up to 8 facilities, not all retail facilities, but up to 8 medical marijuana activities within the city limits of Perry. We just don't have the geography to have 2 retail, 3 growing, a transport facility, a testing facility, etc. But we did hear the voters say, not only at that election that I referenced, but also back in 2008 when medical marijuana was on the ballot for legalizing it for the state. The city residents at that time did vote in favor of that. In 2018, when the recreational activity was on the ballot for the state of Michigan, they were in support of that as well. So with all of those things being favorably considered by the city residents, we felt it incumbent to move forward at least with what we felt was their real desire, and that is to have the retail facility within the city.
The lottery that was chosen by the city council to use once the applicants are vetted and they're deemed to be worthy applicants for the license for the one store here in town, that there would be a lottery to determine who of the applicants would be awarded the license. We adopted that from the city of Owasso because that's how they do theirs. And it seemed the most fair way to determine if we indeed did have multiple applicants. As it turned out, we only had one, and it wasn't Shiawassee Cares people. They have said over and over again in communications with us, Shiawassee Cares and Liberty Wellness, who are indeed the same company. They're the same principals in both companies. They want the determination of who is awarded the license to be determined on a point system. And those points would be earned by the applicants by them indicating what benefit they would bring to the city of Perry. They would refurbish a derelict building. They would donate money to the parks. They would, do other things bringing money into the city. But in our opinion, and we discussed this a lot, both in the ordinance committee and as council, that is awarding the one license, or if it were to have more licenses in the future, it would award it to whoever has the most money coming in. It wouldn't be a fair determination by smaller businesses or local business. They wouldn't have equal opportunity to be awarded a license. And so we looked at many municipalities and their ordinances for this type of business, and we chose to go with the lottery system to award it. And they don't like that. Yes?
No, from the way I've seen it and heard and been talked about, that when bringing this pot thing in here, that with the city taxes, all that stuff that they rake on that money that comes in, that provides, it can provide a lot for the city just for bringing the marijuana shop in and let them set up. That brings they bring a lot of money in. You talk about donations and all that, I'm sure they would do that. But they tax the heck out of all them and rate it up so high because it's such a bad thing, people say, that they charge them so high, they make all this money. And where does that go? In a general fund? It never goes on anything it should go on. And our tax people paying all those high taxes for stuff that could be paid out of that money. That they get a lot of money. Owasso's making a lot of money. And they just had it on the news the other day on how much a single pot shop makes in 1 month the state makes off of that pot shop.
How much does the city of Owasso make though?
To exact sure, I could not tell you.
Yeah.
But from what I've heard, it's like big money. I mean, the city is living off of that. They got like 3 or 4 pot shops now. And that money is like paying for whatever they want to put it in their pockets or what, but they're making a lot from what I heard. Nobody wants to tell me exactly what anybody wants. You know,
I'm gonna let Larry address this. He's the chair of the ordinance committee and he's wanting to answer what you're saying. So we're gonna let Larry try to answer you.
Okay. Number one, there is, on medical marijuana, there is no excise tax or additional tax placed on that. There's sales tax only because it's considered a medical, for medical treatment. On adult use / recreational marijuana, there is an excise tax that is placed on that. I believe it's like 10%. That all goes into a state general fund that is distributed once a year. A significant portion of that remains at the state level. Ultimately, 15% of that money comes back to a county. Excuse me, 15% comes back to the county level, and another 15% apportioned by county comes back to the municipalities within the county. And I don't have the numbers in front of me for Owasso, but basically this last calendar year, Langsberg, that has 1 facility, their income from that tax was about $56,000. So it was $56,000 per facility that's up and operational for a defined period of time. So yes, it is a plus, but it's not millions of dollars.
Is that a year or a
They're
month?
making it sound.
Pardon?
Is that a year or a month?
That's a year.
That was for
That's
this
Right,
year.
'cause that's just kind of what I was hearing in a while ago,
It's
was like
distributed.
monthly, you know, that they make this much, 'cause I knew people that worked up there.
Yeah.
And they told me a lot of things about what they had to pay and stuff, so.
Yeah, that is the state portion of the payback, if you will, to the county and the municipalities or cities is once a year. It's 15% stays at the county level, 15% stays at the individual municipalities, distributed based on how many facilities they have. And like I say, this last calendar year, it was about $56,000. Now that's going to vary that's recalculated every year based on the amount of tax revenue that's collected by the state.
Right. That's what they said too, it goes on and after a while, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, it starts off low, but.
If sales get bigger. and
If sales get bigger,
Yeah.
if sales get bigger, that would be true, but it is, I'm not gonna say $56,000 isn't a nice piece of change, but it's not,
It's nothing
not
around
huge
here.
dollars.
Yeah.
But if the coalition gets their signatures, that's gonna stop the city from having this till the next election, which is in 2024. Then we have to start all over again,
Or longer based on the
or
outcome of that.
longer.
I was
If
just
they get their
thinking,
signatures, it'll put a stop to it.
I was just thinking with all the money it could bring into the town, that it would definitely be feasible to bring it in, you know, that would be my
We are absolutely, let me clarify, we are absolutely not opposed to bringing a store, a marijuana sales, medical and recreational into the city. That's what our ordinance does.
Right.
It allows that to happen.
We did it, it's ready to
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
Do you mind sharing your name? I just wanted to check.
Well, which one do you want, my Facebook name or my real name?
If you can print it, if you want it in the minutes, if you could print it up there, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, it's Earl Buckle,
Say it once more.
Earl Buckle.
Earl Buckley.
Thank you so much.
Earl, I'm gonna just ask if you're finished, I'm gonna call on the lady behind you who has her hand up. Are you finished for the moment?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a question about the whole facility thing.
And your name before
My
I
name
forget.
is Michelle Cloutier. I actually live across the street.
Michelle,
Cloutier, Michelle with one L, Cloutier, C-L.
thank you, Michelle, go ahead.
So I was just wondering, when you have a facility like that in town, what is the air quality? Does it, I mean, especially the distribution of whatever they're making? The reason why I ask that is my son has an allergy to marijuana. He's actually has a rescue inhaler because he can't breathe when he's around it. So it's one thing if you're in in a place where you're in a closed, confined area and you're, having a choice to go in there or not. But when you're living in town, is that gonna cause the town to smell like marijuana? I don't know, because I don't smoke it, so I'm not, but my concern is I don't want it downtown. If you wanna have one outside of the skirts of town, I guess that's fine, but right downtown, I don't know,
I think we can
I'm not sure how
allay
that
your
works.
concerns. We have, the planning commission has put together zoning restrictions as to the location and the condition of the building. And again, I'm gonna have Larry, who's jumping out of his chair, explain to you what we have down there. Go ahead.
Okay, two levels. Number one, when we're talking about a retail facility only and not talking about processing, not talking about growing, et cetera, basically all of the product is contained in canisters inside the facility and the air quality outside is not an issue. We did put, as Sue indicated, we do have requirements in the ordinance. Should there be any issue with exterior air quality, that's a no-no, basically.
So it's like, I wanna make sure you can feel free to do
Is
that.
not going to be allowed.
Okay.
In terms of requirements, the drug-free zone requirement is 1,000 feet from a library or a school. So it's outside, we're gonna be outside of that area. So there are some places still within the city that it will be allowed, but it's not within the envelope of
So what about the parks then? So they can be within the park range, like Jubilee Park or right here? in
As it
the
turns
city
out,
hall?
that our two parks, when you look at the criteria that I just mentioned between libraries and schools, it excludes being able to be close to either of our parks either. We there again went through lots of other ordinances, lots of state requirements relative to what we could and couldn't do. And we wanted to not be so prescriptive that the only piece of property was this one parcel left within the city. So we tried to understand our constraints in that regard as well.
We're a small town.
It does have to be in a commercial or mixed-use zone area, 1,000 feet from any school, but, there's a lot of requirements for it, so
It won't be like that.
I think you'd be all right.
Okay, that's good, because he loves to walk through town, and I want him to feel open to be able to do that without having to.
Have him keep his inhaler in his
Oh, yeah,
pocket,
he keeps
though,
it in
just-
with him at all times,
Yeah.
because you just never.
You just never know, but yeah, I think we've got it covered. Who else has a comment or question? Anybody?
I have one.
Billy?
I'm Billy Roback. Larry, on any of you could answer it. Are we susceptible to litigation from the winner of the lottery should this petition they're passing around, should it pass or they get enough signatures? does that open the city up to any kind of litigation with the potential vendor that's looking at it?
We should be okay, basically inside of the application, the waiver requires that they hold us harmless, should that come to pass. That was part of the application process.
Okay.
And they are aware, now that it's been awarded, they are aware of our situation that we're dealing with.
Do you have the winner's name available to the public
We'll
yet?
be announcing that at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
we're
no, we
okay
did.
as far
I'm
as,
sorry, we did announce that.
Oh, did you?
Yes, we do. It is Roy Liskey,
Litsky?
Liskey.
Thank you. But we're okay as far as them not coming back and saying, well, we've invested all this money in getting this thing underway, and now you've got this other litigation, so we want our money back from the city.
We
I
believe,
would think if they sued anybody, they would sue the ones that are trying to stop it.
Yeah, well, but you know how things go these days, so, thank you, Larry.
Yeah,
believe
anybody
we got
can
it
sue
covered.
anybody, but,
Thank you.
yeah.
I have another question.
Yes, go
So how
ahead.
many people do we have living in the city of Perry?
Census says 2,100.
So how many votes were for this, for even to have this allowed? Do we know what the votes were?
There do you have the
I'm gonna go through,
Right.
I'm gonna go through 3 pieces of information with you. And I'm gonna take the most recent one, which was the 2021 one that had the charter. Of the registered voters, which in that election, there were a little over 1,500. So the number that Devin provided is our total population, basically, from the census. Registered voters is around 1,500. Unfortunately, we only had about 450 people cast a ballot in that election because it was not a regular, election like we had this last time. So it was only less than 30% of the folks voted. The vote was 230 yes, 222 no.
And so they still passed this?
It passed because mathematically it was a majority.
But it wasn't even a majority of the actual city of people that are registered to vote.
That doesn't matter.
Everybody had the opportunity.
I'm surprised you haven't had a lot of people complain about that.
I know.
I know,
That's why it's-
I voted, but
Yeah.
I'm only gonna
eventually.
back up now, just the other 2 pieces of data. We went back and looked at what happened when the legalization at the state level happened. What did the city of Perry do? And in fact, in 2018, there were 825 ballots cast, and 57% were in favor of recreational marijuana within the state, and 43% said no, but that was down to the city level. So there again, another data point that says we do have a majority of people that would like to see the state have legalized recreational marijuana. And the numbers were similar back in 2008 at the medical marijuana vote.
It's just amazing.
And I'd like to see it.
Pardon?
I'd like to see it come in.
Well, we have
That's
the ordinance in place.
The ordinance is
If,
in place, so
Yeah.
you
If
want
we
to...
can continue to operate under the ordinance that's now in place, the Roy Liskey, who was awarded the license for the store here in the city, will be setting up his shop. I don't know how long it will take him before he can be open. Those are the numbers that City Council looked at when we said, yes, ordinance committee, we'd like you to create an ordinance that allows the sale of medical and recreational marijuana in the city. The voters have spoken. The majority of those people who voted said, yes, we want it here. So that's why we did it. And just because Liberty Wellness / Shiawassee Cares Coalition can't have the winner of the license award chosen the way they want it, they want to stop it. And that's not fair to the people of the city of Perry.
And it's very unfair to the people that want it. This is the second time
Yeah.
their application was chosen. And this, maybe the second time they'll be knocked out again. If people sign the petition.
They're not being told the truth by the people who are circulating the petitions.
I haven't even heard anything on it until tonight. This is the first thing I've heard in a long time. That's why I came.
They,
Put it out.
Never got heard and never got a vote. I didn't know we got a vote on it or what.
yeah, the charter petition, when it was circulated over a year ago now, basically was door to door for, would like to see medical marijuana available within the city of Perry.
You said door to door.
When there was a petition that was circulated before it was placed on the ballot that I referenced in November
Okay, to my
24th.
door.
So they didn't come to my door either, but I know a number of people that I went to
Right.
and got their
They
signatures.
came to our door several times.
Really, that's good.
Yeah.
Somebody.
They've been to our door, my door too.
And they got their signatures.
And they neglected to share in that interchange if it occurred enough folks that they got the signatures required, but they neglected to highlight the fact that there would be 8 facilities, not just a retail facility. And that's, along with the selection process, those are the issues that really we don't want to see within the city. Not to mention the state had deemed, and the court system deemed it to be an invalid charter amendment.
Okay.
So if I
And
can,
I'm sorry.
if I can just add on, so according to our charter, the city clerk has to verify that the petition is set up correctly for them to go out and disperse and get signatures. So this is the petition that has been approved by our office. This is what's done by law. And so at this point, they can go out and circulate, and they can knock on your door and ask you to sign this. And council has done a slide, and I don't know if any of them want to go through that tonight, but explaining that they have the right to come to your door, you have the right to sign it or not sign it, and you have the right to ask them to leave. If they do not leave, you have the right to call your local authorities and ask them to be removed. But they do have a legal right, this is freedom of speech, to come to your doors. And so, council, if you want to go over those slides at all, that might be even more informative about the petition itself. And, because on the front, I just want to add, so this is the front that they're showing you.
Here's your slide.
And then this is going to be folded behind it, and you have the right to ask what you're signing about. I can't promise you they're going to tell you what all this says. Council is telling you that it is that ordinance 366 they put into effect. But these are, our last one that was done, typically, it's by paid people. They get paid by how many signatures they get. It's a job for them to do this. And that's legal. All the stuff we're telling you that they can do is legal. And we're not telling you anything on that. So I'll give it up to somebody else who wants to.
Yeah, we can share these slides with you. We put it together as bullet points just to try to help people understand what the petition being circulated was doing or going to do. We'll just kind of go around. Larry, have you got your slides here?
I will have it just a moment here.
And we're talking about, if you go to the city website, this is where you'll find this, these slides that we're referring to.
So what we were saying is we strongly encourage you to not support the circulating petition for referendum or repeal, in parenthesis, of ordinance 366. That ordinance allows the sale of marijuana, both medical and recreational, in the city. Mindy?
The first one is what is ordinance 366? Ordinance 366 allows for a single retail location, medical and/or recreational, within the city limits. Zoning restrictions will apply. So they can't just set it up anywhere, it's gotta be within the proper zoning. This adopted ordinance went into effect October 7th, 2022, and is now formally City Ordinance 860. The city has accepted and approved an application for a facility. The applicant can begin completing required zoning, building, and licensing requirements.
Chad, would you want to read that next one that says who's presenting?
Who is presenting this petition? Shiawassee Cares Coalition, SCC, an organization located in Livonia, Michigan, promoting private business. No registration voters / residents of the city of Perry appear to be connected to the SCC. SCC is trying to influence decisions that are their best interests in your city.
Larry, do you want to take over
Sure.
there?
What would a successful signature collection mean for the petition? If approximately, I mentioned this number before, 170 qualified signatures are collected, ordinance 860, approved as 366, would be put on hold. The approved applicant would have to cease progress. No marijuana facility, medical or adult use, would be authorized to operate in the city, and the delay would be lengthy. The repeal of the ordinance cannot be voted on by the public until the next election, currently scheduled for 2024.
Larry, if you want to read the next one, I think you did that one on the recording. You have it practiced.
On the petition language, the petition claims that ordinance 366 conflicts with the results of a charter amendment voted on in 2021. We spoke of that earlier. The Michigan Attorney General deemed the 2021 ballot language is not consistent with the requirements of Section 21(2) of the Home Rule City Act, which is what governs what we do in the city of Perry, and failing to inform the voters that the amendment is contrary to Michigan law. Shiawassee Cares Coalition took the city to court regarding the results of that election. The case was dismissed by the 35th Circuit Court of Shiawassee County. Basically, they didn't rule on it, they dismissed it. Groups similar to this Shiawassee Cares Coalition took their nearly identical action in many small communities across the state. This isn't unique to our particular city. They've got similar activity going on around the state.
Steve, would you want to read the next one?
Yes, and this is to reiterate what Devin said. Know your rights. You cannot be forced to sign this or any petition. We strongly encourage you to read the petition language first. The circulator may be a paid individual that is compensated based on signatures collected. You have the right to ask them to leave your property. If they do not comply, they are trespassing.
And that is the slides that were put together as bullet points to help explain what's going on with this petition that's being circulated. As I mentioned earlier, if you do want to have further discussion, if you think of other questions or would like more information, please fill out the form that Devin's provided, putting your name and your contact information. You can email us, you can call us here at City Hall. We are here to help, and we would welcome the opportunity to talk to anybody regarding this. It is on our city website. The individual pages of these slides are up at Carl's grocery store on the board that we use for information. So if you want copies of them, we can get you those as well. Anyone else have any further questions you thought of or anything you'd like to bring up regarding this? I'll let you think about it for a minute. Council, do any of you have anything you'd like to say concerning this matter?
appreciate those of you that did come.
Yes.
And
You
if
know,
you're
that's-
able, tell your friends and neighbors.
Dennis?
Yeah, Dennis Malloy. So if they get their signatures, they have to put the progress on hold, but then if it goes through the election and passes it, it could get thrown out. And would that wash everything out and there'd be no facility allowed in the city?
Yes, and that doesn't mean we can't start all over. You know, we could, once again, create another ordinance and try to get it to work, but it would take 2 years for the election to actually happen, and it would take us a while to get things, you know, going again. So it would be a lengthy process. In the meanwhile, the Liberty Wellness Group, who are the same principles as those in Shiawassee Cares Coalition, are trying to force the city to abide by the charter amendment that passed in 2021, even though the court said that the amendment is a revision and therefore not enforceable under Michigan law.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, is that
Yeah,
it would put you to zero. Like
Federal
no
government,
pot shops
if they
allowed.
take us to federal court, Larry made a good point the other day. Marijuana is illegal federally, so I don't know how that would shake out. I mean, this company, this Shiawassee Cares Coalition, uses that name for this situation. They're also known as Ingham Cares, Eaton County Cares, Livingston Cares. What was your county? I mean,
I might be in Oakland, I don't
yeah,
know.
Oakland County Cares. I mean, that, they've gone all over the lower part of Michigan, doing the same thing.
It appears the Liberty Wellness wants all the licenses they can get. And they want to make the municipalities pay for that. If they don't comply, that's what it appears, they're going to try to make it cost a lot of money to get their way.
We're not a very rich county. We're like, come on, people.
And that's what in my opinion, that's what I think they want to happen. Just give up, throw your hands up and give up. So we did pass an ordinance to try to give what the people wanted, medical and recreational, and we haven't, it's in the ordinance we can revisit it, I think, in a year or two,
A year.
and see if there's a need or a want for more licenses. So it's not a close, you can only have this. Right now, we're only doing one, but there is opportunity perhaps in the future to add more.
My fear is if they get their signatures and we can't put a store in place for 2 years, I feel that they are just gonna wait for the opportunity to come back and do the same thing to us that they did in the first place, which included 8 licenses, which your concern includes growing and processing. Those are the things that you've got order concerns. And that's what they tried to do to us, and we just don't have that kind of property to accommodate that. And so that's more my concern with them getting the signatures is they don't care if they have to wait 2 years. They'll do it and just start all over again and put us right back where we were. And the taxpayers are paying for all this litigation.
That's not where I want my tax dollars to go.
Did- I guess my question
Yes,
is
Billy.
for Devin, she'd be the clerk, she probably would have a ballpark. How much have the city spent legally on this issue so far? Do we know how much we've got invested in it as far as our legal representation, our time and energy? Do we know how much money we spent?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you that because we keep working on different issues. I mean, first the issue was the charter amendment and going through that. then it was, council had decided to create an ordinance, and we needed attorney advice, even though the ordinance committee did a lot of the labor of it, we still needed the proofing of that. So, we haven't, we had the one court case, and I don't think there was much with that, so then that was a separate case. And so,
So it just keeps going on.
it just keeps going on with a different issue,
I
and,
haven't added it up myself, each individual things. I haven't added it up to see what the total is.
so if you are curious on that, I could follow up and answer that question for you, but we have not been tallying it because we've been trying to just, as a council, they've been working on piece by piece, whatever subject that they're working on and needing that legal.
Gotcha.
It'd be nice if it's been just one item, but
No,
it
okay.
hasn't been.
Anybody else? I do want to say that if, as a municipality, if the company that's trying to force us to have numerous marijuana businesses here in the city is successful, and that brings a lot more people in, a lot more workers, a lot more people to purchase, to transport, to process, and so forth. We have 5 police officers on our police force. I think we would probably have to make our police force larger just to deal with the traffic and everything else that would be going on, if that were to happen. So it's not just that it would bring money in, that money would be going out. That's why it's designed the way that it is, to bring money in so that the city can spend that money for police and parking and
Lawyers.
lawyers, all that stuff, you know. So it looks good, it sounds good when they say, oh, it brings all that money to your city, but it's not gonna stay there. It's gonna be gone.
It's no different than
It's
the
gonna be
lottery going to
used.
the schools, it doesn't go there either.
Kind of. Any further questions, comment? Earl, did you have
With that,
something
that
else?
lottery going to schools, if it's all going to schools like they said they would, why is our governor and all that, oh, we gotta give more, we gotta give more, to build schools that got pick and sit there for years, not being used, and you see
I'm
that.
afraid I can't address that.
I know,
Earl.
but I'm
We're
just
not here to
saying,
address
that's kind of what it's going on,
Yeah,
you know? People say things that glad, but it's not the way it goes.
That's right. Any other questions or comments in relation to the issue we're here for tonight? If not, it's 7:48. Council, anybody?
I just wanted to say one thing too, it don't smell that bad. I don't know where people think it's how it smells, everybody's got a different smell, but, you know,
Ones
yeah.
I've driven by.
But, you know, I can go outside and smell 20 other things, and I choke on that. I choke on diesel smoke when it goes by. You get a diesel car, it makes me choke to death. So should we make that illegal, you know? It's not just because of the smell, it's about other things, you know? It's the smell, everything, a lot of things smell. A lot of things everybody's allergic to, or something.
He just can't breathe, so it ends up making him,
You know, but it really, I've been around it and I don't think it smells that bad.
Any further comments, questions? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.